From WPTV, Florida's top-rated television station, this is News Channel 5 at noon.
2, 1, 0, and liftoff, the final liftoff of Atlantis. On the shoulders of the space shuttle, America will continue the dream.
Hundreds of thousands descended on Florida's Space Coast to watch firsthand the historic launch. Good afternoon. I'm Keely Fulton. Lauren is out today. Thank you very much for joining us. The last mission of America's Space Shuttle program is underway, and we have team coverage with Michael Williams at the Kennedy Space Center and Roxanne Stein at Port Canaveral, where thousands of spectators have gathered. Let's start with Michael at the launch site. Michael?
Good afternoon, Kelly. Apparently Mother Nature didn't want to miss a great launch either. All week long the talk was about weather. It would not be good enough. Last night there wasn't anybody on the Cape who thought the Atlantis would be able to launch today, and yet the weather began to clear. They got the go. All systems were go and green for Atlantis and her four-person crew. A nearly flawless countdown. Let's take a look at the moments at 11:26:52 when Atlantis lifted off. The 135th shuttle mission, the final one in the space shuttle era with her 4-astronaut crew. Let's listen in for a moment.
Off of Atlantis, on the shoulders of the space shuttle, America will continue the dream.
Program, Houston. Roger, roll, Atlantis.
Houston now controlling the flight of Atlantis.
You can find your own words for it. If you can, you're a better wordsmith than I am. It is a truly magnificent sight as Atlantis and her crew, led by Commander Chris Ferguson, a space veteran, indeed all four are, pilot Doug Hurley, and specialist Sandy Magnus and Rex Walheim, blasted into orbit. 8.5 minutes from liftoff to orbit. And as we're talking about this, I have a very special guest coming in, somebody who has a unique perspective about what it's like to be aboard a space shuttle when she lifts off. As we continue to look at the pictures, I'd like to welcome Florida's senior senator, Democrat Bill Nelson. Sir, just about anybody, certainly within my vision around here, you know what it's like to be aboard. We've talked a lot. You talked with me a few weeks ago. We did a great perspective piece. Your thought as we look at the pictures, sir, as she lifted off, what was going through your mind?
Well, first of all, thank you, because you're one of the great boosters, and so is your station, a booster of the space program. And of course, you can't experience something like this without a great deal of nostalgia, a great deal of emotion, a great deal of hope for the future. And I do believe that the dream is alive. We've got 2 new lines of rockets that are being developed right now to replace the space shuttle. But you know, there was a real catch in my throat as
T-31?
Not only when we had the slight delay, but just as those engines ignited before T-0, when the big solid rockets ignite, then you know you're definitely going someplace.
You went someplace aboard Columbia in 1986, January 1986, then a Central Florida congressman, of course, for many years now, since 2000, a United States senator. Put us aboard that shuttle. What you're going through as she lifts off and headed for orbit. What's that like? What are your sentiments that are still sharply etched in your mind?
You feel the ignition of the main engines as you are lying on your back, strapped in. Before T-6, if the computer allows the count to proceed to T-0, the big solid rockets, there's a lot of shaking, rattling, and rolling.
And holding on.
And holding on for dear life. And it's only 8.5 minutes to orbit.
You said something to me a few weeks ago I'd like you to perhaps repeat for our audience. You talked about perspective. You said first day in orbit you were looking at Florida, your home state. Second day, the continents. By the third day, your vision had expanded, and you said really forever.
Your perspective changes as you adapt to space, and then you look back at Earth and you see this incredible, colorful creation that is suspended in the middle of nothing. And then you look closer and you know you don't see any political divisions. You don't see Republicans and Democrats down there. You don't see any ethnic divisions. You don't see religious divisions looking back at our home, the planet. You see it as one planet, and we're all in this together.
Eloquently said. I do want to ask you one question, Senator Nelson, as we continue to look at footage of this magnificent liftoff. You talked about follow-on rockets and programs that by some estimates, perhaps by mid-decade, NASA itself could be back in the launch business. Before that, commercial rockets might be man-rated to take U.S. astronauts aloft. But somebody, I believe it was in launch control, perhaps it was one of the astronauts, I'm not sure, but before launch said, and I'm paraphrasing, one more time, let the world see a great nation at its finest. It was a very emotional moment, and yet some wonder if the end of the space shuttle program is a metaphor for where this country is right now. Feeling a bit down, feeling like where's the next place we go. Some argue that there was not enough foresight and that we're not moving seamlessly out of this era into another space age. And indeed, The Economist, a very influential magazine, called it the end of the space age. Things are talked about perhaps human space flight. We've seen its best days come and go. Do you agree? Is there political will and financial ability to really have a manned space flight program that makes sense?
Well, everybody is feeling down because we're in the midst of an economic downturn and it is only slowly recovering. People around here are feeling down because there are a lot of jobs that are necessarily being lost as you transition from one rocket to another. But the fact is, the blueprint's in place for a vigorous space program that will take us now out with humans to Mars and many places on the way as we develop the technologies. So we have the hope, and I disagree with The Economist that
magazine, right?
The dream is not through, the dream is alive.
Very briefly, I heard a rumor that somebody saw you running for launch control to grab an outfit and go aboard as a fifth crew member. Any truth to that?
Oh, I would love that.
You'd have gone aboard if they'd have asked in a hurry.
But it's time for these other guys to have the chance. I just had that great privilege.
I'll quash that rumor, but I know if you'd had the chance, you would have. Senator Bill Nelson, our senior senator from Florida, thank you for taking a few moments on a great day where you had a catch in your throat and wished him Godspeed yourself. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
You as well, Senator. Senator Bill Nelson, we thank him for joining us. Keely, that's it from the Kennedy Space Center for now. Back to you.
Michael, thank you. Now, the final launch attracted a big crowd. In fact, they haven't had as many spectators since the launch of Apollo 11, which was the first mission to the moon. News Channel 5's Roxanne Stein is with the crowd in Port Canaveral, and she joins us live with the view from there. And Roxanne, I can imagine that folks are still excited, even though they're starting to hit the roads now.
Yeah, things are emptying out. We'll get to that in just a moment, Keely. First, I want to address this. This is the shirt to have right now. It says the final mission, and it says Atlantis on it. It's a great T-shirt, and it's so cool to be able to put it on. You know, Michael was talking about trying to come up with words, and when I was thinking about what I was going to say about watching the launch and putting this on, that it took off, and I could get this on and say, yeah, I was part of it. All I could think of was neat, amazing, how cool. And I'm thinking, well, that's not so journalistic. But in fact, that's what it was. You're just pretty much speechless watching this happen and knowing the history that's occurring as we were watching Atlantis lift off. Our little city has cleared out, but as people were leaving, and people we've been with since we got here at 2:30 this morning, you heard a lot of wows being said, people shaking their heads, big smiles. And one thing we saw today in this crowd, where everybody made room for each other, got along, helped us out, were a lot of families coming here from all over the world. But we had a lot of families just drive a few hours up the road. And we have some of our friends from West Palm Beach who joined us this morning. Wendy and Jansen are here from West Palm Beach. And Woof Woof, the Wolf family is here, including Woof Woof came along for the ride. Jansen, what was it like for you to watch Atlantis?
It was spectacular to just see everything that was going on and just to see the last shuttle launch.
And your mom woke you up at the last minute this morning, right?
Yes.
So we're hitting the road from West Palm Beach and driving up.
Yes.
Were you excited?
I was very excited because I thought it was going to be scrubbed today.
Why was it important for you, Wendy, and I know your husband Stan, he didn't want to be on camera, so this is a family affair, for you to get up here and bring Jansen?
I really wanted her to be a part of history and to know that we live in such a wonderful country that I don't think our children get the message that much anymore. So I wanted her to really have it.
Do you feel like you got a portion of that, Jansen?
Yes, I do. And my dad is in avionics, so he kind of helped me learn the history of shuttles and all that.
So you've watched the shuttles take off maybe from your backyard some days?
Yes.
Has that been pretty amazing too?
Yes.
Which is better?
I think being here today was better.
Oh, I think so too, in a really big way. We probably had several thousand people here. Thank you both for being with us. At one point today, as we crammed into this little area off of State Road 528, it's dissipating. Traffic is actually moving a little better, meaning it's moving. It wasn't moving at all. Pretty much as a standstill. As you can imagine, there were 1 million people along the Space Coast, probably a couple, maybe 100,000 or so now, trying to leave this entire area to head west to get on the Turnpike in 95. But it is thinning out as we now have closed this chapter of the shuttle history, and we wait together for the next chapter of America's aviation and shuttle and what happens after the shuttle as we wait for the next chapter in NASA's history to be written. We'll watch that together too. It's been great being here at Port Canaveral, reporting live. Roxanne Stein, News Channel 5. Keely, back to you.
Thank you so much, Roxanne.